Caitlin Clark hasn't played a single basketball game in 239 days. Quad injury, groin injury, ankle injury, an entire WNBA season gone. And then she walks into the FIBA qualifying tournament, comes off the bench, and immediately drops 17 points and 12 assists in 19 minutes on her first game. The 5-team USA games just pulled the highest viewership numbers in FIBA qualifying tournament history. The same players who were in Miami to play at Unrivaled, I'm looking at you, Angel Reese, got ratings that were genuinely embarrassing for the sport, suddenly became must-watch TV the second Clark put on that jersey. Here's exactly how that happened. Do you think Caitlin Clark is the needle mover? Let me know down in the comments below.
She absolutely slaughtered the Unrivaled ratings. I mean, put them to complete shame. That it's not her, it's everybody thing is completely done, okay?
So let's talk about what 239 days actually feels like for a fan base. No games, no highlights, no Caitlin Clark doing Caitlin Clark things. Just a string of injury updates and a 2025 WNBA season that basically evaporated before it started. First, it was a groin issue, then an ankle. And at some point, fans stopped counting the days and just started hoping she'd be back at all. That's the context you need to understand before we get into what happened when she finally stepped back on the floor.
The ratings for Caitlin Clark FIBA basketball on True TV, they're in. And to nobody's surprise, you look at the average Unrivaled game, Caitlin Clark more than triples Unrivaled. TNT said, man, I'm getting this Caitlin Clark stimulus package one way or another.
Because nobody actually knew what version of Clark was coming back. 8 months away from competitive basketball is a long time. Muscle memory fades, timing slips, and even elite players can look hesitant in their first games back from that kind of layoff. There were real questions being asked, not just by haters, but by people who genuinely follow the sport, about whether she'd need a few games to find her rhythm, whether the injuries had taken something from her, whether this was going to be a quiet and careful return. Then she checked into the Senegal game off the bench. 19 minutes, 17 points, 12 assists, 0 turnovers in the first half, and 5 FIBA world records broken before she even hit the 20-minute mark.
Here's Clark once again. She's got 8 points. She wanted to pull up for 3, but gonna share it with Ryan Howard, who puts up a 3, and that's her second of the game. Give her. Comes off the screen from Irfan, kicks it over to Clark. Clark behind the back crossover finds Ryan Howard. Howard for 3. And we said it, the connection between Caitlin Clark and Ryan Howard has been beautiful.
The two that stand out the most assists ever by a bench player in FIBA history, and most assists in a Team USA senior national team debut, men or women, ever. Those aren't participation records. Those are marks that had been standing across decades of international basketball, and she erased them in her first appearance coming off the bench in her international debut. The best part is that those 12 assists weren't just passes. Clark was reading the blitz and turning it into a fast break before the defense could recover. She was finding cutters in rhythm, hitting shooters in their spots, and pushing the pace in a way that Team USA simply hadn't been playing before she stepped on the floor. The whole offense looked different. Faster, sharper, and more connected.
Beating the defender and finding the right player.
Clark over to Billings, and Clark, although she's the NCAA all-time leading scorer, she is an assist machine. The offensive rebound gives the USA another chance. Angel Reese makes the most of it, and that's Caitlin Clark's 9 assists.
The Russ narrative died right there. Every analyst who said she'd need time to shake off the cobwebs had to sit and watch her run an offense that looked like it had been operating at that tempo all season. No hesitation, no easing in, nothing cautious about it at all. And she did all of that coming off the bench, not starting. The coaching staff had her in a reserve role for that first game, and she still put up one of the most statistically dominant debut performances in FIBA history. Which naturally raises the question of what the thinking was behind that decision and whether the numbers on the floor were pointing in a different direction than the rotation choices being made. But we're going to get into all of that.
She looked behind her, and there she was, staring at Kara Lawson. Stephanie White. And you know what Stephanie White said? Slow it down, coach. Slow it down. You see all the publicity Caitlin Clark's getting today? Did you see the news? Everybody's talking about Caitlin Clark. We can't have that. The transition offense, Caitlin Clark making passes that nobody in the league has ever seen before. We can't have that. Slow it down, Kara Lawson. Switch it up. We got to make everybody else shine. We don't want her. Everybody else needs to shine.
Picture this. You just watched a player break 5 world records in under 20 minutes off the bench, and the next game, the coaching staff still doesn't start her and builds the offense around not giving her the ball. That was Kara Lawson's approach with Clark throughout this tournament. The basic idea was that everyone gets touches, everyone shines. No single player dominates the ball, which sounds fine in theory, except the data from the Senegal game had just shown exactly what happens when Clark runs the offense her way. And the answer was 5 world records and a performance nobody in FIBA history had matched from the bench.
I mean, I thought the game was a little clunky. I felt like we probably didn't play our best. I thought Paige played really well, but it felt good. I mean, I obviously probably didn't shoot it as well as I would have liked. I think their zone kind of threw us off. I thought it kind of slowed down our pace a little bit. We didn't get as much in transition, so I think if like another team plays zone, just continue to play with a lot of pace and don't let them set these out.
Lawson's comments after that game didn't help either. She kept circling back to the idea of everyone contributing, spreading the ball around, making sure different players had moments, without really addressing what Clark had just done the game before or why the offense looked so different. It didn't land well, and honestly, it wasn't hard to see why.
I thought Puerto Rico played very, very hard, and they played hard the entire time. They challenged us with their effort, and I thought they made a lot of hustle plays to create baskets for themselves. And, this was more of an uneven game for us on both ends. We talked about it as a team, and I thought we had some good spots, but I also thought we had some rough spots, and that's good. It's good to have rough spots sometimes. You're able to kind of figure some things out, and we're still figuring things out.
This wasn't a new pattern. Anyone who watched Clark at the Fever knows that coaches who try to fit her into a system built around limiting her playmaking role consistently get worse results than coaches who just let her run. The data says the same thing every single time. And yet here was Lawson running the same playbook. Then Lawson left for Duke mid-tournament. Nate Tibbetts stepped in as interim coach for the Italy game, and the very first thing he did was start Clark and build the offense around her reads. He put Clark, Paige Beckers, and Kelsey Plum on the floor together in a 3-guard lineup and basically said, let's go fast, let's shoot off movement, let Clark make decisions.
What did you see from the lineup with Kelsey Plum, Caitlin Clark, Paige Beckers, Ryan Howard, and Angel Reese, and how did that group impact the flow of the game?
Yeah, I thought they did a really good job. This is a group that hasn't been together very long. We've kind of mixed the matchups, mixed the rotations. We played our players a little bit longer stretches than what we had done in the first 2 games. And so I thought initially they got off to a good start. I probably played them a little bit too long of a stretch at some of them got a little bit tired. But yeah, I love the creativity. I love the shooting with that group.
Italy got blown out by 55 points. The ball was moving, the pace was back, shooters were getting looks off Clark's reads, and the defense had no time to set up. It looked completely different from the Puerto Rico game because it was completely different. And Tibbetts said afterward that the previous approach had been a mistake. Not a subtle hint, not reading between the lines. A coach directly saying on record that constraining Clark was the wrong call. That's pretty much as clear as it gets. So now you've got a 5-0 sweep, Clark named tournament MVP, and a coaching lesson played out in real time across 5 games. But what was happening in the TV numbers during all of this was just as striking.
The advertising was at a minimum. The promotion was at a minimum. And then 1 week before the qualifier started, TNT heard the buzz, TNT heard the chatter, and they said, oh, yeah, that's right. We got to get this Caitlin Clark stimulus package. We got to cash in some way because Unrivaled is wasting us money. So what does TNT do? TNT makes a deal with FIBA.
So let's talk about 334,000 viewers on True TV for a single FIBA qualifying game. That number sounds decent on its own, but it doesn't really hit until you put it next to what Unrivaled was pulling earlier this year with essentially the same group of players.
Only one of these players isn't playing in Unrivaled. So if the ratings there go above 200,000, there's only one reason. We already know it, but it'll be nice to remind the slows once again that their faves aren't the needle. We are ready. Keep in mind, Unrivaled was a majority TNT product. Yes, it's simulcasted on TNT, but it was mostly TNT product.
Unrivaled launched this past offseason with Paige Beckers, Angel Reese, and pretty much every major WNBA star who wasn't named Caitlin Clark. The whole pitch was that this was the premium off-season product for women's basketball. A polished league, real competition, big names, built specifically for the fans. And the viewership numbers were genuinely hard to defend. Most games were struggling to clear 150,000 viewers. The championship game, the biggest possible moment for the entire league, topped out around 314,000.
FIBA didn't get the TNT time slot. It was True TV or an HBO Max stream. Unrivaled year 2 ratings fell 40% from the year prior, just north of 120,000 viewers across all games on TNT and True TV. That jumps to 156,000 alone when excluding games that just air on True TV alone. Oh, we can't get everything we want.
Clark's single True TV game drew 334,000. One game. On a cable channel that isn't anybody's first stop. In a FIBA qualifying tournament that most casual sports fans don't even know exists. That one game beat Unrivaled's championship that's featured on national TV.
334,000 viewers for this Caitlin Clark game. 334,000 viewers for this Caitlin Clark game. So more than triple if we're counting TNT and True TV, and more than double if we're excluding True TV, playing to the slows, excluding True TV, making everybody happy, giving them the best possible scenario, still falling short of Caitlin Clark FIBA basketball on True TV.
Let's keep in mind that this wasn't Clark playing a home game in Indiana where the local market boosts the numbers. This wasn't a rivalry game or a nationally promoted primetime matchup. This was an international qualifying tournament on a Tuesday, and 334,000 people showed up on True TV to watch it because her name was on the roster. The contrast gets even sharper when you go back to Clark's first 2 Fever seasons. There were games where she was hurt, sitting on the bench in street clothes, not playing a single minute, and Indiana Fever games were still pulling millions of viewers. The audience wasn't tuning in to watch the Fever run plays. They were tuning in to watch her, even when she wasn't playing.
Let's be real. We're used to Caitlin Clark hovering around that million. Y'all done turned so many people off and ruined it. Y'all done ran a bunch of people off already. I mean, you called a bunch of them racist and started fake investigations and all types of other stuff. I mean, Rachel Demita already put it so eloquently about how you guys have done everything you can to shun the fans away because they are Caitlin Clark fans. That's been clear.
That's the thing that makes TNT's multi-year FIBA rights deal make a lot more sense right now. Networks don't pay for international qualifying tournaments because they love international qualifying tournaments. They pay because they're buying access to a specific audience, and the 334,000 number on True TV is exactly the proof of basketball are going to be built around this data. Because what it shows is that Clark's presence doesn't just bump the ratings up a little, it creates a completely different tier of viewership that nobody else in the sport has come close to replicating yet.
She tripled Unrivaled's ratings. Unrivaled's averaging like 100,000 or some 120,000. She absolutely slaughtered them, you guys.
And this isn't about taking shots at Beckers or Reese. Both of them had genuinely strong moments in this tournament, and both are elite players by any honest measure. But the ratings data is specific, and it points in one direction. The FIBA qualifying tournament just set the all-time viewership record for the competition. And the straightforward reason is that Caitlin Clark came back to basketball and people showed up to watch. Here's where it gets interesting. Clark spent 4 out of 5 games coming off the bench, and she still led Team USA in minutes, assists, plus-minus, and efficiency. And not just on her team. She led the entire tournament field in plus-minus and efficiency. The whole tournament. Every player, every team, every game.
Here's Young, looking to take advantage of a wide-open Howard. Can't this time, and Gustafson with the rebound, but she saves it inbounds to Caitlin Clark, and Caitlin Clark is there to...
Let's talk about the full picture across those 5 games. 58 total points, 32 assists, 6.4 assists per game, which led the entire tournament, 21 minutes per game as a bench player, which was the team high. She also led Team USA in 2-point field goal percentage and free throws made and attempted. Those aren't role player numbers. Those are the numbers of someone running the show, even when the rotation said otherwise. The plus-minus stat is the one that cuts through every argument about limited usage. When Clark was on the floor, Team USA was dramatically better, by a margin bigger than any other player in the entire tournament, not just on her own team. You can talk about role and minutes and system all you want, but plus-minus doesn't care about any of that. It just measures what happens when a player is actually out there, and what happened when Clark was out there was that Team USA was almost impossible to compete with.
Successful tournament for Team USA as they go home with 5 wins under their belts.
And those 6.4 assists per game weren't just passes that happened to count. That's making the right read on every single possession. That's seeing the blitz coming before it arrives and already knowing where the ball is going. That's making 5 other players look better every time she touches it, which is exactly what the assist-to-turnover picture backs up across all 5 games.
Caitlin Clark.
She opened with a double-double in the Senegal game in under 20 minutes off the bench. Then she was at her most efficient in the Italy blowout, the game where Tibbetts finally built the offense around her. And throughout the whole tournament, she was sliding between guard spots 1 through 3 depending on what the offense needed, functioning as the primary ball handler, the secondary option, and the floor spacer sometimes all in the same possession. She wasn't filling one role. She was filling whatever role the team needed filled. So the whole "she'll need time to find her rhythm" conversation that was happening before the tournament, that one aged pretty badly, pretty fast.
MVP of the tournament is none other than Miss Caitlin Clark. It's undeniable the impact she's made on women's basketball, and here in Puerto Rico had quite the showing. Her debut with the senior team was a double-double with both points and assists. And in her senior debut, she wins the TISO MVP at the FIBA Women's Basketball World Cup qualifying tournament here in Puerto Rico.
The MVP award made it official. Youngest tournament MVP in FIBA qualifying tournament history. But the numbers had already made that argument before anyone handed her a trophy or put her name on a press release. And those numbers don't just tell the story of one tournament, they tell you exactly what this Team USA can do going into the 2026 World Cup if Tibbetts keeps that 3-guard lineup intact.
Caitlin, what's your favorite part of playing for Team USA?
So here's where everything lands. 5 games, 5 wins, 5 world records, the youngest MVP in FIBA qualifying tournament history, and the all-time viewership record for the competition. And she did most of it coming off the bench after 8 months away in her first senior national team appearances ever. That's the full picture of what just happened.
She's the best. She's not just a legend, but a great, great person.
Now let's talk about what comes next, because the 2026 World Cup is sitting right there in September, and Tibbetts just handed everyone a blueprint for how Team USA should look going into it. That 3-guard lineup, Clark, Beckers, and Plum on the floor together, is the most dangerous offensive combination women's basketball has seen at the international level in a long time. Beckers is elite, coming off screens and hitting mid-range shots in rhythm. Plum is one of the best pure scorers in the sport. And Clark is running the whole thing, reading defenses before they set, pushing pace, finding the right person every single time. Italy had no answer for it. Most teams in the world aren't going to have an answer for it either.
Checked up the three. Spain wanted the call, but Paige is leaking. Her against Ioso, and that one is good for Team USA as Spain calls the timeout. Mad about the no call on that one. And we think Coach Miguel Mendez will have a talk with the referees as
Coach.
The World Cup field is going to be stronger than a FIBA qualifying tournament, obviously. But picture this lineup walking into September 2026 with a full year of continuity. With Tibbetts running a system actually built around Clark's strengths, with Beckers and Plum already knowing exactly where Clark is going to put the ball. That's a Team USA that wins by 30 on a bad night.
just long. Picked up by Young. Now it's Caitlin Clark in transition. Gets it to Paige Beckers, and Beckers.
For Fever fans specifically, Clark is coming back to Indiana with a healthy body, a full offseason of momentum, and a tournament MVP award, fresh off a performance that reminded the entire sports world exactly what she does to a basketball game. The 2026 WNBA season hasn't started, and it's already the most anticipated season in the league's history. Every team on Indiana's schedule is going to get that date circled. Every broadcast partner is going to want that game. The Fever haven't even tipped off yet, and the orbit of the entire WNBA calendar is already forming around them. The roster situation in Indiana is going to be worth watching closely too. Clark coming back fully healthy changes what the Fever can realistically build toward. Last season was basically erased before it started, so this is in a lot of ways the real beginning of what this Fever team can become with Clark at full strength for a complete season. The 239 days of waiting, the coaching friction, the bench roll, the rust questions, all the noise about whether she'd come back the same player, every single one of those questions got answered across 5 games in this tournament. The rust wasn't there. The instincts were sharper than ever. The records fell anyway. The ratings followed her anyway. And the coaching data proved what Fever fans already knew. When you build around Clark instead of trying to fit her into something smaller, the results aren't even close. 5 games. One answer. Every time she touched the ball, Team USA was better, the numbers got bigger, and the people who said she needed time to find herself had less and less to say. Do you think Caitlin Clark is the needle mover? Let me know down in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next one.